First contact and cultural exchange. Dr. Elara Chen stood at the edge of the observation deck, her heart racing as she watched the sleek, silver spacecraft descend from the clouds. After years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, humanity's efforts had finally paid off. The Xeraxian vessel, with its otherworldly design that seemed to defy the laws of physics, touched down on the landing pad with barely a whisper. As the lead xenolinguist for the United Earth Space Agency, Elara had been preparing for this moment her entire career. She took a deep breath, straightened her uniform, and stepped forward to greet Earth's first extraterrestrial visitors. The ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing 3 tall, willowy figures. Their skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, reflecting the afternoon's sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. Large, multifaceted eyes surveyed the welcoming committee, and Elara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the aliens' ethereal beauty. "Welcome to Earth," Elara said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. She raised her hand in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The tallest Xeraxian stepped forward, mimicking Elara's gesture. It opened its mouth, emitting a series of musical tones and clicks that the translation devices couldn't decipher. Elara frowned, realizing that their carefully crafted translation algorithms were useless against the Xeraxians' complex language. For the next few hours, both sides attempted to communicate through a mix of gestures, drawings, and mathematical equations. Progress was frustratingly slow, and Elara could sense the growing tension among her colleagues. Some whispered that perhaps the gap between their species was too vast to bridge. But Elara refused to give up. As night fell, she retreated to her lab, poring over the data they had collected. There had to be a pattern, a key to unlocking the Xeraxians' language. She worked tirelessly, fueled by determination and copious amounts of coffee. Just before dawn, Elara had a breakthrough. She noticed that the Xeraxians' speech patterns correlated with subtle shifts in their bioluminescence. What if their language wasn't just auditory, but visual as well? Excited by her discovery, Elara rushed back to the communications center. She explained her theory to her team and the Xeraxians, using a combination of words and light patterns projected onto her skin. The aliens' eyes widened in recognition, and suddenly, the floodgates of communication opened. With this new understanding, the translation devices were quickly recalibrated. Within hours, humans and Xeraxians were engaged in meaningful dialogue, exchanging knowledge about their respective worlds and cultures. The Xeraxians, it turned out, were explorers much like humanity. They had traveled across the galaxy, seeking out new civilizations and expanding their understanding of the universe. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, but they were fascinated by humanity's resourcefulness and creativity. As the days passed, Elara found herself forming a close friendship with Zix, the lead Xeraxian scientist. They spent hours discussing everything from quantum physics to philosophy, each gaining new insights from the other's perspective. "Your species is remarkable, Elara," Zix said one evening as they watched the sunset from the observation deck. "You've accomplished so much in such a short time, despite the limitations of your biology." Elara smiled, feeling a surge of pride for humanity. "We're driven by curiosity and the desire to overcome challenges. It's what's brought us this far." Zix's skin rippled with patterns that Elara now recognized as thoughtfulness. "Perhaps that is why the cosmic harmony chose your world for this meeting." "Cosmic harmony?" Elara asked, intrigued. Zix turned to her, its expression serious. "There is much we have yet to share, Elara. Tomorrow, we must speak with your leaders. The fate of both our civilizations may depend on it." As Elara processed Zix's ominous words, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was confident that together, humans and Xeraxians could face them. Little did she know that their newfound alliance was about to be tested in ways she could never have imagined. The galactic threat. The next morning, Elara found herself in a high-security conference room, surrounded by world leaders, top scientists, and military officials. The atmosphere was tense as Zix and the other Xeraxians prepared to share their urgent news. Esteemed humans, Zix began, its bioluminescence pulsing with gravity, we come to you not just as explorers, but as harbingers of a grave threat that looms over us all. The room fell silent as Zix activated a holographic display, showing a vast, swirling mass of dark energy moving through the galaxy. This is what we call the Void Cascade. It's a cosmic anomaly that devours everything in its path: stars, planets, even the fabric of space-time itself. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as the implications sank in. Ilara leaned forward, her mind racing. "How long do we have?" she asked. Zix's skin dimmed slightly. At its current rate, the Void Cascade will reach Earth's solar system in approximately 5 years. Our home system will be hit just 2 years after that. The revelation sparked a flurry of questions and debates. Some leaders advocated for immediate evacuation plans, while others insisted on finding a way to stop the Void Cascade. Tensions rose as arguments broke out over resource allocation and global cooperation. Amidst the chaos, Ilara noticed Zix and the other Xeraxians exchanging worried glances. She realized that they had hoped for a more unified response from humanity. Determined to salvage the situation, she stood up and called for attention. "Everyone, please." Ilara's voice cut through the noise. "We're facing an unprecedented threat, but we also have an unprecedented opportunity. For the first time in human history, we're not alone. We have allies with advanced technology and knowledge of the cosmos. Instead of arguing amongst ourselves, we should be focusing on how we can work together to find a solution." Her words seemed to resonate with the assembly. Gradually, the focus shifted from panic to problem-solving. Over the next few weeks, a joint task force of human and Xeraxian scientists was formed, with Ilara and Zix at the helm. Their plan was ambitious: to create a network of energy deflectors that could redirect the Void Cascade away from inhabited systems. The technology would combine Xeraxian quantum field manipulation with human-designed AI systems for real-time adjustments. As they worked tirelessly on the project, Ilara was continually amazed by the synergy between human and Xeraxian minds. Where the Xeraxians brought centuries of advanced scientific knowledge, humans contributed out-of-the-box thinking and adaptability. However, their progress was not without setbacks. Initial tests of the deflector technology proved unstable, with energy fields collapsing under the simulated strain of the Void Cascade. Frustration mounted as weeks turned into months with no viable solution in sight. It was during one of these low points that Ilara had an epiphany. She had been studying the fractal patterns of the Void Cascade when she noticed a similarity to patterns in human brainwaves during deep meditation. "What if we're approaching this all wrong?" she mused aloud. "We've been trying to fight against the Void Cascade, but what if we could harmonize with it instead?" Zix's bioluminescence flickered with interest. "Explain, Ilara. How can one harmonize with such a destructive force?" Ilara's excitement grew as she elaborated on her theory. "In quantum physics, we know that the act of observation can influence the behavior of particles. What if we could create a network of conscious observers, both human and Xeraxian, linked to the deflector technology? Their combined focus could potentially guide the Void Cascade into a harmless configuration." The idea was met with skepticism at first, but as Ilara and Zix refined the concept, it began to gain traction. They called it the Conscious Quantum Resonance Network, CQRN, a melding of minds and machines on a galactic scale. As they prepared for the first full-scale test of the CQRN, Ilara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how far they'd come. Humans and Xeraxians, two species from opposite ends of the galaxy, were about to attempt something never before conceived. The day of the test arrived, and tension filled the air as volunteers were connected to the CQRN. Ilara and Zix stood side by side, watching the monitors anxiously as the simulated Void Cascade approached. At first, everything seemed to be working perfectly. The combined consciousness of the participants was successfully influencing the energy patterns of the anomaly. But just as they were on the brink of success, alarms blared throughout the facility. The energy levels are spiking. One of the technicians shouted, "We're losing containment." Ilara watched in horror as the simulation spiraled out of control. The very fabric of space-time around the facility began to warp and distort. In that moment of crisis, she realized that their attempt to save the galaxy might have just doomed it instead. As chaos erupted around them, Ilara locked eyes with Zix. They both knew that the next few moments would determine not just their fate, but the fate of countless civilizations across the cosmos. With time running out, they would need every ounce of human ingenuity and Ziraxian wisdom to avert disaster and find a way to truly achieve cosmic harmony. Triumph of unity. Alarms blared throughout the facility as reality itself seemed to warp around them. The failed test of the Conscious Quantum Resonance Network, CQRN, had created a localized version of the very phenomenon they were trying to prevent, a miniature void cascade that threatened to engulf the entire complex. Ilara's mind raced as she assessed the situation. They had mere minutes before the anomaly grew beyond their control. She turned to Zix, whose bioluminescence was pulsing rapidly in what she now recognized as extreme stress. "Zix, we need to stabilize the quantum field," Ilara shouted over the chaos. "Can your people channel their collective consciousness to contain the anomaly?" Zix's multifaceted eyes blinked in rapid succession. "We can try, but our efforts alone won't be enough. We need human minds to complete the resonance pattern." Understanding dawned on Ilara. The key to their salvation lay in the very diversity that had brought them together. "Everyone, listen up," she called out to the panicking staff. "We need volunteers to join the Ziraxians in a mental link. Focus your thoughts on harmony, on balance." As Ilara quickly explained the plan, a handful of brave scientists stepped forward. Time seemed to slow as human and Ziraxian minds melded, creating a psychic barrier around the growing anomaly. Ilara felt a strange sensation, as if her consciousness was expanding beyond the confines of her body. For several tense moments, it seemed as if their efforts would be in vain. The void cascade continued to grow, pushing against their mental defenses. But then, almost imperceptibly at first, the expansion began to slow. Ilara pushed harder, drawing strength from the unified will of humans and Ziraxians working in perfect synchronicity. Gradually, the anomaly started to shrink, collapsing in on itself until it winked out of existence with a final anticlimactic pop. As the danger passed, a stunned silence fell over the room, broken only by the sound of relieved laughter and tears. Ilara found herself embracing Zix, their differences forgotten in the joy of their shared triumph. But even as they celebrated their narrow escape, Ilara's mind was already racing ahead to the implications of what they'd just experienced. "Zix," she said urgently, "I think we've just discovered the true key to stopping the void cascade." Over the next few months, Ilara and Zix led a radical redesign of the CQRN. Instead of trying to deflect or destroy the void cascade, they would attempt to guide it into a stable configuration using the combined mental energies of billions of beings across multiple species. The plan was audacious, requiring a level of cooperation unprecedented in galactic history. Ilara and Zix traveled to dozens of worlds, recruiting other spacefaring civilizations to join their cause. Each new species brought unique perspectives and abilities to the project, further refining and strengthening the network. As the day of reckoning approached, billions of sentient beings across the galaxy prepared to join their minds in a singular purpose. Ilara stood at the primary control center on Earth, Zix by her side, as they initiated the CQRN. The sensation was unlike anything Ilara had ever experienced. Her consciousness expanded, merging with countless others to form a vast, collective intelligence. Through this shared awareness, she could perceive the void cascade in all its terrifying beauty, a cosmic force of destruction and rebirth. With infinite gentleness, the united minds of the galaxy reached out to the void cascade. Rather than fighting against it, they sought to understand it, to find the underlying patterns in its chaos. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the anomaly began to respond to their guidance. Hours passed like seconds as the delicate process continued. Ilara felt the strain of maintaining the connection, but she also sensed the unwavering support of billions of others, all working towards the same goal. In that moment, she understood that they were witnessing the birth of a true galactic community. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the void cascade settled into a stable configuration. What was once a force of destruction had been transformed into a swirling nexus of creative energy, a cosmic engine that would drive the evolution of the galaxy for eons to come. As the CQRN connection faded and Ilara's awareness returned to her physical body, she found herself overwhelmed by a profound sense of accomplishment and unity. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to Zix, seeing her own emotions reflected in the Ziraxian's shimmering patterns. "We did it," Ilara whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "All of us together." Zix's reply came not in words, but in a burst of bioluminescence that conveyed joy, pride, and a deep sense of kinship that transcended the boundaries of species. In the days and weeks that followed, the galaxy celebrated its shared victory. The averted crisis had fostered a new era of cooperation and understanding between civilizations that had once been isolated or even hostile towards one another. For Ilara, the experience had transformed her view of humanity's place in the cosmos. They were no longer alone in the universe, but part of a vast, interconnected community of sentient beings. The challenges they had faced and overcome together had proven that diversity was not a weakness, but their greatest strength. As she stood with Zix, watching the transformed void cascade shimmer in the night sky, now a beacon of hope rather than a harbinger of doom, Ilara felt a sense of limitless possibility. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity, in harmony with its new galactic neighbors, was ready to explore it all. "What's next for us, Zix?" Ilara asked, her eyes fixed on the stars above. Zix's skin rippled with patterns of excitement and anticipation. "My friend," the Ziraxian replied, "we have only